And then the devil tricked her. Say, well, you will surely die. I can imagine he threw her a piece of that fruit. And she did eat of it because she saw it looked good. It was good for food. She touched it and she didn't die. So after touching it and not dying, she ate it, which was the disobedient part. God said, don't eat of it. Didn't say don't touch it. But after being tricked into touching it, now she eats of it. Then she gives it to her husband. He eats also. The disobedience was in eating the fruit, not in touching it. See, the devil will tell you a partial truth, and he will trick you into believing and doing something that's not in agreement with what God tells you to do. The other example I want to talk about, that was Abraham. God told Abraham he'd make him a great nation. He didn't tell him when. Abraham and his wife, they went to the land of Canaan. They went to the place God told them to be. They were there, ready to serve God and do what God had said. They had been in this land for 10 years. God bless you this morning. They had been in this land for 10 years and been faithful to God, faithful to what they were supposed to be doing. But what did Sarah decide to do after being there 10 years? She was 65 when she went there. God had promised to go make them a great nation. So she was at the end of her childbearing years, nearly at the time they went, no doubt. And after being there for 10 years and having no child still, she finally got weak in faith and decided, well, I guess the time of life has passed me by and God's not going to give me any children. So she told Abraham to go into her handmaiden Hagar and say, perhaps I will have children and bear them upon her knees. So Abraham hearkened to his wife and went into his handmaiden, got her pregnant. They had a son named Ishmael. And okay, everything seemed to be going along well for about 10 years until God showed up again one day and told Abraham, I'm going to keep my promises to you. And this was 14 years later. So this is now 24 years since God initially told him, I'm going to make you a great nation. See, God is not slack concerning his promises, and men count slackness. It says for 1,000 years with God is but one day. 1,000 of our years is like one day to God. So God hadn't been but a few minutes or less in his way of counting time before he gave Abraham the promise. Matter of fact, it might be like the equivalent of a minute or two. So you know how we tell people sometimes when they ask us to do something for us, we'll say, in a minute. Well, if God says in a minute to you, that might be like if God tells you in a minute, that might be 2 or 3 years. And if it's like an hour is like 42 years or something. I forget. It's a off the wall kind of time. That's what I'm trying to get at. The main thing, when God tells you in a minute, it can be years. That's the moment point. If God tells you he's going to do something, it could be years. Well, in this particular case, when God told Abraham he's going to make a great nation of him, it was 24 years before God blessed Sarah with the son. And matter of fact, when God told Abraham, Abraham laughed at God. And so did his wife, Sarah. She laughed because they couldn't believe it. Didn't believe it at first. But God kept his promise to them. And God will keep his promises to you as well. That's what I want you to know today and be encouraged about. God keeps all of his promises. Don't be deceived by the devil and his tricks. He will always try to trick you, have you believe something other than the truth. He will bring people and things into your life, into your path that makes it seem like this is not going to work. God's not going to do what he said. But God always keeps his promises. The problem is, are we going to be faithful to God until he does fulfill his promise? This is where we fail. We fail to be faithful. Scripture says, if you be faithful unto death, God will give you a crown of life. We have to be faithful through all of the situations that come our way. We're going to end this with me going out in a song this morning. Just a little brief aside I wanted to share with you about what it means to be faithful when you're tested and when you're tried. Not believing the devil's lies and not believing the devil's tricks. He's always full of lies and tricks to make people think and to believe things that they should not believe. I'm praying that God will bless you, open your eyes, and help you to realize the truth today as you try to serve and walk before God. He's sweet, I know.